About the Marcus Rashford story, we know he's been linked with PSG for a good sort of 3 or 4 years, if not a bit longer. Ever since that goal, that late penalty in Paris, it looks like they've been tracking him, they've been interested in him. And there has been sort of rumours that Marcus Rashford wouldn't be dead against that move in the past, when there was times when it looked like everything wasn't rosy at Old Trafford. You remember under Ralph Rangnick, he was sort of basically dropped for a little while, wasn't he? There was stories coming out that he wasn't happy about that. He felt it was unfair and that he didn't know if he wanted to commit to United if he wasn't going to be a first-team regular. He's certainly been a first-team regular this season. I think he scored about 7 goals, is it, this season? He's already scored more goals, I think, this season than he did in the entirety of last season, which shows you the sort of form he's in now and also the form he was out of last season. He seems to have worked on his game a little bit, Marcus. I know there's still some criticisms of his finishing, but look at his heading. You saw the Newcastle game, has a header, should score really, misses it. You see him the next couple of games, or sorry, the Sheriff game and then the West Ham game, bullet headers. Not something that you would do with that you would associate with Marcus Rashford. Sorry, that you think, oh yeah, he's great at heading. But he was, it's something he seems to have worked on, and 2 headed goals in the space of a week. You can't really grumble at that. So I can understand why sort of Marcus would be looking at it going, right, I'm improving, I'm working on my game, I want a new deal. You can understand why the club are looking at it going, yeah, what a new deal, well, give him a new deal. And you can also get why someone like Paris Saint-Germain and maybe 2 other clubs will be looking at Marcus Rashford. Don't forget, Marcus Rashford is a player who scored plus 20 goals in back-to-back seasons. He has had some very good seasons for Manchester United. Now, the latest is, just go into this update, this is from the Mail last night, says that Rashford has entered the final 8 months of his $200,000 a week contract, and United will either offer him new terms or trigger the 1-year option or on his current deal. Otherwise, Rashford would be able to open talks formally with foreign clubs from the 1st of January. It also says the striker's representatives met officials from Paris Saint-Germain over the summer. So if we don't get him tied down soon, or if we don't trigger that extension in January, he could talk to people. He could start talking to foreign clubs, not to Premier League clubs. I don't think Marcus would ever move to a Premier League club anyway. He is a United fan. He's like Manchester, Rashford is red, but he is. But I think he would be open to a move abroad if he didn't feel that he was wanted at United, or if he felt that, he could get I don't know, it was just about a better deal. I don't know if it's just about money, but if he felt, he had a brighter future, shall we say, if he went to Paris than if he was sort of kicking it around on the bench at United. Get involved in the comments and let us know what you think. Glenn F says Marcus is red. Anna L says Rashford has handled this the right way and he's working damn hard to fix up. Rusty Sawblade says Mank, born and bred. Santa Notch says Marcus, Shaw and De Gea all seem to have been worked on. I agree with that. If you look at De Gea's game as well, he seems to have worked on elements of his game that were lacking a little bit, shall we say. He seems to have worked on his distribution. He seems a little bit better, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, coming out of his area. So these are the parts of his game that people go, David De Gea, can he fit into a Ten Hag system? Now, it's very early days, but you can see there's some improvements there. Luke Shaw has probably been our most improved, or one of our most improved. There's been so many, it's difficult to single one out, but one of our most improved players. Beginning the season, didn't look at the races at all. Had a poor season last season. Tyrone Malacia was brought in. He obviously got a couple of games, or a few games, sorry. He played in the Liverpool game, played very well. That seems to give Luke Shaw the kick up the backside he needs. He's a bit of a funny one in Luke Shaw, because I don't think there's any doubt in his ability. I think natural ability for a left-back, I think Luke Shaw is almost as good as anyone on the planet on his day. I think part of the issue with Luke Shaw is whether he's motivated, whether he's sort of in form, or however you want to term it. He does seem sometimes like he just takes his foot off the pedal. Last season wasn't great for him. He came back from the Euros after having a very, very good tournament. Gilberto Carlos and all that stuff was doing the rounds, wasn't it? Scored in the final, of course, was, close to scoring the winning goal in a cup final for England, which would have made him a national hero. Came back to Old Trafford, and he wasn't alone, because the same happened with Sancho, the same happened with Marcus Rashford once he'd had his operation, and the same happened with Harry Maguire, and he's just form deserted him completely. And I thought Luke Shaw was very poor last season, but this season, when after the initial couple of games, the Brighton and the Brentford game, when I think he got subbed in the Brentford game about half-time on it, I think he did anyway, he's been much better. And the last few games, he's been fantastic. And hopefully, he can continue that. Whether it is the fact that he's got Tyrone Malacia breathing down his neck, whether it is the fact we've got this World Cup on the horizon and he wants to sort of cement his place in Gareth Southgate's squad, I don't know. But whatever the reason, or maybe it's just Eric Ten Hag working with him on the training ground. Whatever the reason, we're seeing much better performances from Luke Shaw. Bill O'Reilly says, Shaw is the flakiest player I've ever seen at United. Santa Knox says, agree about Shaw. The Umston Strangler says, morning, Jay. That head has a quality shine to it today. Lee TAZ2312 says, Shaw is better, or is always better, when he has genuine competition. Yeah, he is, isn't it? It's just weird with Luke Shaw, because most players, they play well when they're just getting a run in the team. You look at someone like Diogo Dalot. Diogo Dalot is probably playing his best ever football for Manchester United, because he's had a run of about 29 games or something, the longest run he's ever had in the team. And he's just, he's flying, really. He's doing really well. But someone like Luke Shaw, he seems to need that Alex Telles breathing down his neck, or Brandon Williams, and he seems to need the sort of someone there to sort of fight for his place alongside, because he doesn't play as well when everything seems to be rosy. It's really weird, but whatever the reason, he's doing well now. Should we move on anyway? I've got another couple of stories to get through. There's some early team news here. I think this is on the official United website yesterday, just saying about early team news. We're obviously going to get an update here on the website. We're talking about the fact that Harry Maguire's available. Obviously, Rafael Varane isn't. Victor Lindelof was ill at the weekend, and Anthony was missing from the weekend's game with a knock. But Ten Hag hopes both can be on the flight to Spain. When he spoke on Sunday, Eric Ten Hag said, I think they will recover, but I can't tell you any more. So we will hopefully have some more updates on there. Bruno Fernandes, obviously, is available for this one. He's not available at the weekend, is he? He's accumulated 5 bookings. So he's going to be missing on Sunday. So that's an interesting one. I don't know if that plays into Ten Hag's mind about today, about the Sociedad game, whether he thinks I need to give some minutes to someone who's going to come in for Bruno at the weekend. I don't think Bruno will be dropped or anything. I just wonder whether he'll be subbed at all. I seen an article doing around saying, maybe Donny van de Beek can come in now and finally stake a claim. I don't know about that one. I think he might be further down the pecking order. But yeah, we will have more updates on the Manchester United team news for the Sociedad game as we get closer to it. We're obviously going to be here for the Sociedad game. We're going to have the watch-along. I think it's myself, Joe Smith, and Adam McCullough who are going to be on it. So make sure you are tuning in for that. If you've not done already, subscribe to the channel. You subscribe to the channel, and then you'll be here for the watch along, or you'll get a notification when it's the watch along and all the other good stuff we've got. We've got a load of good videos up at the morning. We've got Stephen Howson, who took a look at our defence. Our defence is doing really well, and why that is. He's looked at Martinez, of course, who's flavour of the month. We've got another video coming out on Marcus Rashford, I think, soon as well. And we've got a late live tonight, or a live Paddock Live with me and Joe at I think it's about 10 o'clock tonight. Long stint for me today, kid. Trust me. Should we talk about Jude Bellingham? Now, we did a poll earlier on today. Let me just get into this poll on our Twitter. And it just said that reports say Bellingham's price is 129 million to bring him to Old Trafford. Should United pay it? It's very close. This is one of the closest polls we've done now. Over almost 4,000 people have voted, which is great. Great to see all you getting engaged and getting involved. Now, the two options are obviously yes, he's worth it. No, that's too much. Yes, 48.6%. No, 51.4%. So there's like a split there. It's almost 50-50. It was more like Brexit, innit? It's very, very close. Jude Bellingham is obviously a phenomenal talent. The question is 129 million quid too much? Now, listen, I know the Glazers take all these dividends out. They've always, wasted all this money on debt. I'm not saying that Manchester United shouldn't be able to spend money on players. Of course they should. And, when you look at the money that goes elsewhere, part of me thinks, yes, just throw money at everything. But you have to be realistic about how much you pay for certain players, especially when you're paying that much for a player who has never kicked a ball in the Premier League. So it is a bit of a risk. You can't deny that. The question is Jude Bellingham the kind of player that warrants that fee? Is he the generational talent, the one that comes into your midfield and he's like a Brian Robson or a Roy Keane? I'm not saying he's as good as those players, but those were players who broke the transfer fee for a reason, because they were, once in a lifetime midfielders who basically just were for over a decade were phenomenal for Manchester United, both of them. Can Jude Bellingham do the same? He's obviously young. He's still, I think he's still a teenager. This story comes from the Mirror, and it says Jude Bellingham transfer price tag Liverpool and Man United must pay next summer made clear. Borussia Dortmund have clarified their asking price next summer for star Jude Bellingham, who has emerged as a transfer target for Liverpool. It also says as well he's also been admired by City and United. Now, we've covered Jude Bellingham coming to United loads of times, and sort of, if you don't know what's gone down with that one, basically, we tried to get him when he was at Birmingham. We pulled out all the stops, and when I say all the stops, I mean it. We showed him around Carrington. I think he met Eric Cantona, Fergie, Brian Robson. It was a real sort of, come to United, this is what you can expect. We love you kind of thing. Obviously, he went from Birmingham to Dortmund, which was a little bit disappointing, but I think there was other factors at play there. You can understand that he was going to get more minutes at Dortmund. He was going to get regular first-team football, regular Champions League football. That was something that Manchester United at the time anyway, well, you could argue still now, couldn't then necessarily offer him. Plus, when he was 16, the feeling was that maybe he's going to come to Manchester United and he's going to be, kicking around the reserves or, the reserves, you know what I mean, in the 23s or whatever, or he's going to maybe go out on loan. He's not going to go straight into the team. Where at Dortmund, he got a lot of minutes quite quickly. Done very well there. He's done well in the Champions League. He's done well in the Champions League against Premier League opposition. You saw him play against Manchester City not long ago. Did well, got a goal. He was 17, says Stefan Hunt, when he was linked with United, not 16. My apologies. What do you guys think? What does everyone think? Because it's 50-50 on the poll. Do you like Bellingham? Most people probably say, yeah, he's a good player. But is 129 million quid too much? You've got to look at it, though, and you think, here's a player, right, who, if you sign him, he could be in your midfield for a decade, if not longer. Do you know what I mean? He's 19. You could get him in the summer, and you could have him for 10 years, and he could be, one of the best players for you, or one of the most important players for you for a decade. So you can understand why it would be a big fee, but why some clubs might look at it and go, okay, it's worth it. But there's always that element of risk. This isn't a player who for a fact can tear it up in the Premier League. You might think he can, but you've not seen him do it. So there's a little bit of element of risk. I mean, you look at someone like Jack Grealish is a good example. Jack Grealish did very well at Aston Villa. There's a time when he was linked with United. A lot of United fans we used to chat to in the comments and stuff, and just at the ground, the game, they seem quite keen on him. Goes to City, and he's had spells, and he's doing all right, I think, in the last few games, but he's not hit the heights you probably expect from a £100 million player. And quite a lot of the time, you hear Pep Guardiola or whoever making sort of almost like excuses for him. Well, he's not that type of player who gets you loads of goals and assists. He's a different type of player. People looking at it going, did that City overspend for him? Was he really worth that 100 million? Now, you could argue, he went there and he won a title, and he's playing well for him. I saw him at Leicester, against Leicester the other day, he played well. But it hasn't been rosy for him. It hasn't been like he's gone in there and straight away he's smashed it. He didn't. And that's a player who had a lot of Premier League, experience. Now, Jude Bellingham, we saw it with Jadon Sancho. He's come into the United team from Dortmund, smashing it at Dortmund. Everyone thought, oh, yeah, he's going to come into the United team and just absolutely tear it up. He's took a little bit of time to find his feet. Seems to be getting a lot of stick as well lately, Jadon Sancho. A lot of people doubting him. Now, I personally think he will come good. I think he has had a bit of a inconsistent time at Manchester United. Last season, we saw him fits and starts. There's a few games, the Chelsea game, the Leeds game in particular, where he played very well. But his numbers weren't great. They weren't anywhere near his Dortmund numbers. And also, there's a lot of games where he just didn't do anything. This season, it's been a little bit similar. We saw him against Liverpool, did well. Was it Leicester? I think he got a goal. And in I keep saying the Champions League, in the Europa League, but he got a goal as well, didn't he? So he has had moments. But again, he's had a few games where you look at him, you're going, the Chelsea game, for example, this season, I mean, he got subbed, I think, in the 50-odd minute or whatever it was, or 50th minute, because he was having a stinker. He just kept giving the ball away. And it wasn't one of those where you thought, oh, that's been premeditated. They decided they're going to take him off at the mark or whatever. It was just, it was pretty poor. So, do you look at that? I know you can't just go, well, he came from Dortmund, the same. They're not. My point is, you're spending a lot of money there, almost 130 million quid. That could be your transfer budget in the summer. That could be it. Because I know we went out this summer and we spent a lot of money. We spent 100 million euros on Anthony, for example. That was a risk. So there's a risk with any player. But do you think Jude Bellingham's worth it? I'd love to see Jude Bellingham at United. You know me with transfers, and if you don't, just get him made. Make the transfer, get him signed. I don't care about the money and all that. We waste enough money on nonsense. Get a player of Jude Bellingham who could be one of the best midfielders of all time. Probably not, but you never know. I'd just sign him. I would. Let us know what you think. I'll get into some of the comments. James Spencer says, I prefer Declan Rice. We've been linked with him as well. I had that in my news on Monday. Santa Notch said, we'd have the money for 300 million players in one window if it weren't for those owners. Great point. Jim Mack says, I just paid £8 for a block of cheese, but I wanted cheese and now I have cheese. Okay. Jake Ferrugi says, every player in the world is a risk, though, Jay. You could break your leg on day one of training. It's true. I'm not saying, there's no guarantee. You could get, like I said with Grealish, did well at Villa in the Premier League. You think he's obviously going to do well at City. Took him a little while to get going, and you could argue the jury's even still out on his City time. Inaki Navarro, he did incredible at Championship at 16. No doubt he will be great anywhere. Yeah, there's an argument there. Good at the Championship at 16, should be great anywhere. But, we've seen it with other players. Nick Powell, I think, was mint in the Championship at around 16. Didn't quite work out for him, did it, at Manchester United? I'm not saying that Jude Bellingham was going to be Nick Powell. I'm just saying that doesn't necessarily always mean you're guaranteed to be good enough in the Premier League or to be good enough for Manchester United for that kind of fee anyway. Throbadilika says, if money is not a question, Jay, then sign both Rice and Bellingham. I'd sign everyone, mate. I just love transfers. Never mind all the football. It's just a distraction. You want transfers. That's where it's at. Yash Gami says, I would just develop McNeil and just get Gakpo. To be fair, I think, obviously that, looking at the attacking options there. Brandon Otis says, bald head Motty, and that emoji. Thank you. Yash Gami says, Pogba isn't even playing for Juve and isn't in the World Cup. Yeah, he's been injured again, hasn't he? Ruben C says, Bellingham, Casey, Ericsson, fire. Salo says, get De Jong and Casado. Hit that like button. Do hit the like button as well. Yeah, we were linked with Moses Casado, weren't we, a little while ago? And then he went to Brighton and there's been links again. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. That seems to have quieted down a little bit. Does the Casemiro signing change anything? Because people talking about Declan Rice, you think, get Rice and Bellingham. I don't think that'll ever happen. Do you see Declan Rice as a similar player to Jude Bellingham? Do you think he fits in the same role? Do you think he plays alongside Casemiro? Do you think that works? Get involved in the chat and the comments. I know it's not necessarily like we've got a choice. It's either Rice or Bellingham. We might get neither of them. But I'm just curious to see what people think about that, because a lot of people have been mentioning Declan Rice. On Monday, there was a transfer rumour doing the rounds about him. There has been a little while. We have been linked with him for a few years now. The price tag for Declan Rice as well has always been around the 80, 90 million quid mark, if not more excessive than that. So it's not quite Jude Bellingham fees, but it's not far off it. So there's always been that thing with this sort of premium you're playing on these young English midfielders, and those two seem to be at the top end. No fucking good says, get Bellingham. In fact, get both of them. It's interesting because on that article in the Mirror that I referenced earlier, it did say that Liverpool were in for him as well. Now, you look at it and you go, okay, Liverpool probably could do with him. Their midfield, you've got a few midfielders there that are sort of getting on a bit. Even Thiago, they signed not long ago, I think he's 30-odd. Henderson, of course, is getting on. Fabinho's, his form seems to have deserted him a little bit from what I've seen. I've not seen a lot of Liverpool, but it doesn't seem like he was the player a few years ago. Bellingham would make a lot of sense. He has been linked there. But it's this Champions League thing, right? Because you would normally look at Liverpool under Klopp and go, yeah, Champions League, guaranteed. If you want Champions League football, go to Liverpool. United, more often than not, we're in the Champions League, but not every season, including this one. However, it's kind of changed a little bit, hasn't it? Because Liverpool struggled this season. They had a few defeats. They're not doing well at all. You look at Manchester United, I'm not saying we're flying, we're not, but we're in a good bit of form, and you can see what Erik ten Hag is doing. And it might end up being that Jude Bellingham or his people look at it and go, let's see how this pans out this season. Because if Liverpool don't make the top four this season and don't win the Champions League, so they don't go into the Champions League next season, and United do, maybe that has an influence on him. Maybe he'll want to come straight into a team that is in the Champions League. Now, normally you go, well, that'll be the Scousers. Maybe United are there too, but you think Liverpool will be there. But not necessarily, because Liverpool have been struggling a little bit. Inaki Navarro, welcome to the Academy. Thanks for your support. Don't forget to check out the members section as well. If you've not done as well, give us a subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the year, not by the end of the season, by the end of the year. And with your support, we can do it. Najim says, if Pogba was 100 million, then Bellingham is surely worth it. Thomas Clark said, McTominay would look like Rice at West Ham. So overrated, not worth more than 30 million. Bellingham all day. Jake says, I think there's more ties in our favour than the Scousers. His VIP tour a few years ago must stand out to him. Apparently, they stayed in touch with the family United. Apparently, because I think it was his dad who was looking after him. And apparently, they have stayed in touch, and there is a sort of, a cordial working relationship there. I don't know if that's going to have any effect on him. Gareth Robinson says, Jay, did you see that Welbeck is in the 55-man selection for the England World Cup? I did, and that is Gareth Southgate's best chance of bringing the World Cup home. Danny Welbeck. Don't worry about that. Loads of people sort of chatting about Rice, loads of people chatting about Bellingham. It's quite interesting to see that there's a sort of split. I think there's a split. We go back to the poll. That was pretty much 50-50, the poll that we did. We did a poll earlier on, I'll just talk about it quickly, where it said, reports say Bellingham's price is 129 million quid. To bring him to Old Trafford, should United pay it? Yes, he's worth it, 48% or 48.5%. No, that's too much, 51.5%. So it's a kind of little bit of a, I don't know. It does seem like there's a bit of a split there. I don't know whether there is a split there. I know that doesn't indicate that everyone is the same, but you're looking at it and you're going, I don't think anyone argued that Jude Bellingham is not a good player. It's just for 129 million, is that too much? Especially when you look at it and you go, that could be most of your transfer budget. We'll have to wait and see anyway what happens with that one. But it's great to see so many people getting in the comments. Yaskami makes a great comment. Welbeck could be the new Vardy for England. Neo Scooter says need a striker first. Ash Bash Sneaker says due to Real, I don't see it. They've got 2 youngsters there already. Yeah, he has been linked with Real Madrid. Now, they do have a very good midfield already, and they do have some young midfielders, don't they, obviously? So it's like, is that a move that is going to happen? I mean, there's always the chance as well, because he's so young, Jude Bellingham, he's 19 years old, he could come to United or end up going to Liverpool, whatever, for a few years, spend 4 or 5 years at the club, and then get his move, or, move on to Real Madrid. Like, he could be 25 and go to Madrid, couldn't it? It's not, beyond the realms of possibility. So it'd be interesting to see whether that is something his family considered. His career seems to be well managed. He's a bit like Erling Haaland. I mean, I know his career's gone to the dogs because he ended up signing for that small club down the road. But you can see these young players, you see the family looking after him, and you think there seems to be a plan there. With Jude Bellingham, it was obviously, do well at Birmingham, move to Dortmund, which from a sort of footballing point of view kind of makes sense, even though I'd much rather have seen him come to United, obviously. Then you get another move, and maybe there's a sort of a 5-year or a 6-year plan where they go, okay, come to United, spend 5 years at Old Trafford, and then you can get a move to Real Madrid, or maybe even the other way around. Maybe you go to Madrid and then you go, right, I'm going to come back to England when I've spent a few years at Madrid. Who knows? But I would love to see Jude Bellingham in a Manchester United shirt, and I don't care about the price tag. Richard Hutchinson says, get Bellingham and Kane now. I don't think Kane's coming to United. We were linked with him years ago. I remember talking about this on a podcast years ago, but I think that ship has sailed now. City went for him last summer, didn't they? I think, was it 100-odd million he was quoted as? It would have cost about 100-odd million. Obviously didn't happen. Now he's still at Spurs. I think, what is he, 29, 30, whatever. He's not a young man, is he, in footballing terms? I know he's still a young man, but in footballing terms, he's not. I don't see Manchester United going out and get Kane. Stranger things have happened, and we do like older strikers, don't we? When you look at, Zlatan, Igalo, Cavani, Ronaldo, it wouldn't be, beyond the realms of possibility that Manchester United went out and got Kane. I think the difference between those players and Kane is you still have to pay a lot of money for him. Like, I think he's still, even if he was, in his 30s, you're going to end up paying sort of 60, 70 million for him. It'd be a lot for a player that's probably going to give you 3 or 4 years. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Listen, I'm going to wrap up there. Thanks everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. It's been really good. Make sure you are hitting that like button and the share button and subscribing. We are going to be back a little bit later on with the, I think we've got Round Our Way with me, Scotty, and Joe Smith's gate crashing that one as well. He's getting involved. And then we'll be back tonight with Paddock Live. I've been Jay. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.